and welcome to Housing TV News at the top of the hour, coming to you from our studios here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Dorcas Chia. Our top stories. The federal government reaffirms commitment to empowering persons living with disabilities. General Musa assures Senate of firm security reforms. Lagos State government issues final warning to estate developers over unapproved layout plans. On the foreign scene, we're going to be looking at Russia and India seeking to boost and diversify trade. And now, the news in detail. The federal government has restated its commitment to building an inclusive environment that supports persons living with disabilities to thrive and contribute to national development. Speaking in Abuja at the 2025 International Day of Persons with Disabilities themed Fostering Disability Inclusive Societies for Advancing Social Progress, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, represented by the Permanent Secretary Mohammed Sanusi Danjuma, said the administration is determined to promote inclusion and strengthen leadership opportunities for persons living with disabilities across all sectors. He noted that the government is working to ensure equal access to education and employment for persons with disabilities to help them achieve their career goals. He also urged Nigerians to reject stereotypes and stigma and to support a society where everyone can access leadership roles, resources, and opportunities. The International Day of Persons with Disabilities is marked annually to promote the rights, dignity, and well-being of persons living with disabilities and to highlight the benefits of their full inclusion in political, social, economic, and cultural life. Still on the same issue, the Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities in Benue State has called on the state government to take the next step after signing the Disability Act by establishing a Disability Commission to ensure its full implementation. Chairman Adeyona made the appeal in Makurdi during a multi-sector summit marking the 2025 International Disability Day. He said the commission would help drive inclusiveness and protect the rights of persons with disabilities. The Director General Bureau for International Cooperation and Development, Leo Angelo Viashima, highlighted the state government's effort to implement the disability law and affirmed its commitment to establishing the commission. Earlier, the Joint National Association of Persons with Disability members held a rally through major streets of Makurdi, ending at the State House of Assembly and Government House as part of activities to commemorate the week-long celebration. And over to security issues, the Defense Minister designate General Christopher Musa has pledged unwavering commitment to securing Nigeria's borders and strengthening national defense during his Senate screening. And Senate President Godswill Akpabio pressed him on the reported withdrawal of soldiers from the Kebbi school where students were abducted and urged action to recover the remains of the late General Musa Uba.
You answer questions, but you will not give any strategic information on the strategy that you use to achieve your aims of securing the nation. You will not. And anything you want from this Senate or National Assembly to assist you to do the work, we assure you that we are available. Is that the view of the Senate? Yeah. So really, don't take it that we are not happy. We are all happy. We applaud Mr. President for your nomination. We have a lot of hope in you based on your track record. But a few questions are begging for answers. The Senate has just set up a committee to find out from the cry of the governor of Kebbi who gave the order for the soldiers who had prior information that kidnappers were coming to the school. Is it St. Mary's School or where? Maga. And they went there They went there and they even took the students to the field and taught the students what they would do when the kidnappers come. 30 minutes before the kidnappers arrived, somebody gave order for the soldiers to withdraw from the school. And the kidnappers came and operated, and children were packed away. And the governor raised alarm all over. As the chief of defense staff, former, now a nominee for the office of Minister of Defense, I want you to know that this senator has set up a committee to investigate who gave that order and why they withdrew to give access to kidnappers to take those children unhindered. It's something that people would like to hear from you. And as we speak now, Brigadier General Oba has not been found, whether he's killed or not killed. He made a phone call to disclose his location. Who gave those coordinates for the kidnappers or the terrorists to go and pick him? Those are questions begging for answers. And then somebody like you is highly placed in security service. You have been everywhere. You have attained all the ranks. You come before the Senate and somebody is saying, take a bow and go. When you take a bow and go, where is Brigadier General Oba? When you take a bow and go, where are the children? How are we going to get the children back? You should make a statement on that. Please, I will not want us to ridicule the nomination of the president. The president knows why he brought him. And he has ideas of why he brought him. Let him also tell Nigerians what he will do in that regard. He doesn't need to disclose the strategy. Point of order.
General Musa described the insecurity situation as unfortunate and stressed boosting the Safe School initiative, deploying technology, improving community participation, and enhancing coordination among security agencies. He also called for greater accountability in the armed forces and the modernization of defense infrastructure.
The issue of kidnapping of students is very unfortunate. But I think since last year, the Safe School initiative was carried out. I think we need to look at it critically and make sure that it is holistic in its approach. Now, we must build the resilience of our communities because crime is localized. We're able to build the capacity of the locals themselves to be the first responder, because when they come, since security agencies cannot be everywhere, it's good we build them. Our schools must be secured. You see, most of the schools that have been built, you go and visit them, no perimeter fence, they are left exposed. Information conveyance, again, has been an issue. Before these informations are relayed, the use of technology. So we're going to make sure that we do a whole of society approach into addressing this issue of kidnapping of school. With technology, working together with the armed forces, the police, and other security agencies, and the communities. I think that's where the gap has been. We will be able to address that properly. I'll be able to also secure these children and to stop issues of kidnapping all over the country. In our neighboring countries, Cameroon, Chad, Niger, Benin Republic, we need to also reach out to them, because if they're able to secure their own borders, it means our own borders will be secured. If theirs is porous, ours is going to be porous. And because we have more to lose, the terrorists that we're dealing with think Nigeria is so rich that when they come to Nigeria, they can make it. So anything they are doing anywhere, their target, end state, is to come into Nigeria. And that's why it's important that we must make sure that we secure our borders and deny them the entry. And then those ones that are within, we're able to take them out. I think one basic area we're also going to look at is accountability of the armed forces. Whatever funds has been made, we want to make sure that the funds are properly utilized. And I think that is very critical, so that we can make sure that whatever it is we're getting are things that will help us and assist us in the members of the armed forces in carrying out their action. What we have observed over time is that with the MDAs, we have not really been able to get the full support of the MDAs. I think one mistake we make is we think the armed forces can solve all the problems. The armed forces solution is just 20-25%. Majority has to do with good governance, building capacity, working together with all the other MDAs. The police has a lot to contribute. Civil defense, all other agencies, including Foreign Service, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Interior. So we need to harmonize all this diplomatically. Again, most of our laws look obsolete, and because sometimes justice is delayed, then it becomes a problem. Because once punishment is meted immediately and action is done, it serves as deterrence to others. And that's why I think critical that we must be. And so I mentioned that all the MDS need to do the legal service, the correctional service, the civil defense, all mining activities have to be monitored properly because that's another source of funding. All areas that they're getting their funds for, we must look at those aspects and stop and prevent them. And like we said, sir, the ability to also monitor where the funds are going to. If we're able to do that holistically using technology, sir, we'll achieve so much.
The Senate unanimously confirmed him as Nigeria's new Minister of Defense. The Nigerian Senate has also advanced a major step in the fight against insecurity by passing the second reading of a bill that classifies kidnapping and hostage-taking as terrorism offenses punishable by mandatory death sentence. Sponsored by Senate Leader Opeyemi Bamidele, the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act Amendment Bill 2025 seeks to eliminate leniency in sentencing and strengthen Nigeria's security framework. The bill removes options for fines or reduced penalties and grants security agencies expanded powers in intelligence gathering, asset forfeiture, and interagency coordination.
The bill seeks to amend the extant law to, among other things, designate kidnapping, hostage-taking, and related offenses as acts of terrorism, and to prescribe death penalty for such offenses without option of fine or alternative sentence, among others. This bill was read for the first time on Thursday, 27th November 2025. And Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, may I also add that this bill is coming pursuant to the resolve of this 10th Senate and the 10th Assembly to join hands with Mr. President and other arms of government in bringing a lasting solution to the insecurity challenge that we are faced with as a country. 3 weeks ago, this hallowed chamber, the Senate held an executive session, and part of the resolutions at the executive session was that the office of the Senate leader should, without any delay, come up with a bill that will redesignate kidnapping as an act of terrorism, thereby attracting a death penalty. So this bill is part of the resolutions of the 10th Senate.
Lawmakers, including Senate Minority Leader Abba Moro, Oji Uzokalu, and Adams Oshomole, supported the bill, stressing that severe penalties are needed to curb terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping nationwide. Oshomole also urged the inclusion of death penalties for collaborators, including financial institutions aiding kidnappers.
The intent was very clear, that kidnapping must be properly designated, its consequences aptly identified, and punishments meted out appropriately. And so, Mr. President, I think that we should go ahead and allow for a second reading of this bill in the hope that a properly designated act of criminality with its concomitant punishment will act as a deterrent to the daily occurrence of kidnapping in our country.
Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, I'm not sure that this bill brought by the leader of the Senate was a bill agreed by all of us. All 109 senators agreed in a closed session that we must get this bill across and sent to Mr. President. Mr. President, I believe it's a high time. There's no town and villages that there are no kidnappers in Nigeria.
I want to further emphasize is that this bill will also cure the mischief in the Terrorist Act, because we have seen in the distant past where terrorists apprehended who have killed, maimed, and committed heinous crimes were in the name of de-radicalization. They were arrested, quote and unquote, de-radicalized, retrained, fed with taxpayers' money, and as we know now, some of these guys went back to continue with the acts of terrorism. So my understanding of this reinforcement of the Terrorism Act by including kidnapping is that such discretion will not be available to anyone, whether in the armed forces or even in the executive.
Senate President Godswill Akpabio announced the bill's approval via voice note, sending it to the relevant committee for further review within 2 weeks.
It's a bill for an act to amend the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act to designate kidnapping, hostage-taking, and related offenses as acts of terrorism, to prescribe death penalty for such offenses without option of fine or alternative sentences, and for related matters 2025. Second reading taken. As a result of the importance of this bill is now committed to the committees on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, National Security and Intelligence, the Committee on Interior, and the lead committee will be the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, to report back to the Senate within 2 weeks.
If passed by both chambers and signed into law, the legislation will mark a significant shift in Nigeria's campaign against kidnapping and terrorism. Niger State Police have rescued 3 more children, including a 5-month-old baby, and arrested 3 additional suspects linked to child trafficking in Nasarawa State and Abuja. This brings the total rescued children to 9 and suspects arrested to 11. The children were reportedly stolen from Gajere Tafa in September 2025. Among those arrested are Chioma Onya, who had the 5-month-old baby allegedly bought from a pastor for 2.7 million naira. Investigations continue to find the other missing children and accomplices. Away from that story, the Federal Executive Council has approved the 2026-2028 medium-term expenditure framework, projecting 50.74 trillion naira in total over the period. The federal government is expected to receive 22.6 trillion naira, states 16.3 trillion naira, and local governments 11.85 trillion naira. Budget Minister Atiku Bagudu said the framework assumes 4.68% economic growth, a production of 2.06 million BPD with a conservative 1.8 million BPD for planning, a benchmark oil price for $64 and an exchange rate of 1,512 naira. Inflation is forecast to average 18% in 2026. Finance Minister Wale Edun announced Federal Executive Council approval of 2 concessional loans, which are $100 million from AFDB for the Youth Investment Fund and $50 million from the Islamic Development Bank for an agricultural project in Yobe State. He added that President Tinubu praised the cabinet for progress under the renewed Hope agenda, noting 3.89% GDP growth in the 3rd quarter of 2025. And on to the livestock sector, the federal government has begun steps to reactivate long-abandoned livestock facilities in Enugu State to boost agriculture and open new economic opportunities. Minister of Livestock Development Idi Mukhtar Meha, after inspecting key sites, announced plans to revive the Okpuje Pig and Progeny center in Nsukka unused for over 40 years, along with a new modular abattoir for bacon production. He also assessed the Adada Cattle Multiplication Center and the Adada Dam, noting their strong potential for irrigated pasture and large-scale livestock development. Nsukka local government chairman Jude Asogwa and other local headers welcomed the move, pledging support as the minister reaffirmed President Tinubu's goal of positioning livestock as a major non-oil revenue driver. The National Universities Commission, NUC, has received £3 million as the first tranche of funding to launch major ICT projects in selected media universities. Executive Secretary Professor Abdullahi Yusufu Ribadu announced this during the inaugural meeting of the 13th NUC Governing Board in Abuja. He said the funds already deposited in the central bank will be used to strengthen ICT infrastructure in 10 universities.
Advance key initiatives that promote digital transformation, research, entrepreneurship, and skills development across Nigerian universities. We have secured $40 million loan from the French Development Agency, as Agence Française de Développement, for the ICT Blueprint project in 10 selected universities. We have strengthened, only yesterday, the director confirmed to me that the first tranche of €3 million have been deposited in our CBN account to kickstart the process of these projects. We have strengthened internal financial management, expanded access to university education through the licensing of new private universities, and approved new programs and units. We have also supported the takeoff of public-funded universities, expanded open and distance learning centers, and continued system-wide quality assurance exercises.
Ribadu also noted that the Commission has licensed new private universities, approved new academic programs, expanded distance learning centers, and begun the 2025 National Accreditation Exercise. He assured the board of full cooperation towards ongoing reforms. Board Chairman Emeritus Professor Oluremi Raphael Aina outlined priorities including improving university rankings, enhanced digital literacy and AI adoption, boosting sustainable funding, and strengthening regulatory autonomy. He added that the board will leverage technology to reposition Nigeria's universities for global competitiveness.
Advancements must also be made to enhance digital literacy and especially ethical use of artificial intelligence, AI, as tools to strategically repositioning universities nationally and internationally. Overall, it will also be a priority for the 13th board to work with the management for radical improvements in both the global and webometric ranking of our universities. 3, identifying and dismantling obstacles to university quality, governance deficiencies, fund constraints, research stagnation, etc., must no longer be accepted as normal. Our duty is to reform and make progress, not to manage decline.
The ICT funding forms part of a $40 million loan from the French Development Agency. We'll now take a pause here, and when we return, take news from the build sector. Stay with us. Welcome back. Glad to have you join us on Housing TV News at the hour. Now to the build sector. The Lagos State government has issued a final warning to estate developers operating without approved layout plans. Commissioner for Fiscal Planning and Urban Development, Dr. Oluyinka Olumide, led an enforcement exercise along the Eti-Osa corridor on Tuesday, following the expiration of a grace period given to flagged estates to regularize their planning documents. Dr. Olumide stressed that despite repeated notices, some estates continue to violate planning laws. The government will no longer tolerate development that threaten orderly and sustainable urban growth. The one-week final warning is the last chance for developers to submit approved layout plans. After the deadline, sanctions including heavy fines or demolition will be enforced based on the severity of violations. He advised prospective buyers to verify estate planning status before investing to avoid losses. The enforcement team inspected estates including White Oak Estate 2 and Elite Garden Estate behind VGC. And on to the foreign scene. During Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to New Delhi, India, Russia announced plans to increase their trade to $100 billion by 2030 and diversify traded goods. Bilateral trade surged from $13 billion in 2021 to nearly $69 billion in 2024 to 2025, mainly due to Indian energy imports, but dipped recently amid U.S. sanctions and tariffs. India seeks new markets to offset U.S. tariffs linked to its Russian oil purchases. Russia aims to import more Indian goods like automobiles, electronics, textiles, and food to balance trade currently dominated by energy. India, the world's largest shrimp exporter, plans to expand shrimp, rice, and tropical fruit sales to Russia. The visit includes talks between President Putin and Modi to strengthen economic ties. And that's just the much we can take on Housing TV News at the top of the hour. But before we go, a recap of our top stories. Federal government reaffirms commitment to empowering persons living with disabilities. General Musa assures Senate of firm security reforms. Lagos State government issues final warning to estate developers over unapproved layout plans. On the foreign scene, we told you that Russia and India seek to boost and diversify trade. And for more news in the housing sector, do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Housing TV Africa. Follow us on all social media platforms, and you can download the Housing TV mobile app on your Google Play Store and Apple Store to stay connected. Many thanks for watching. I am Dorcas Chia. Bye for now.
Housing TV